here in the next 25 to 30 minutes. But before we get distracted by all the really cool stuff we are about to see, let's just go over that little safety talk. So could please gently jiggle your doors on either side of your row. Make sure they're fully closed. They're latched, not locked, so do not lean on them. I don't want to lose anyone along the way. And while we are in motion, please just make sure to remain fully seated at all times. If I come to a complete stop, you may stand up and get a better look if you so choose. And once we start moving again, just take that seat for me. And then next, hopefully not, but should you experience any sort of medical emergencies on the road today, look on the ceiling above you. There are some yellow strips that you can press to get my attention up here. Directly behind me, no strips of yellow, so just give me a wave or a tap on the window. And lastly, any items dropped overboard, I cannot stop for during the tour. Let me know back at the station where you lost it, and I can have someone go get that for you later. So hang on tight to cell phones and hats. With all that being said, let's get started. Got the East Africa habitat on our left-hand side. We'll be getting another really good look at this on the way back in at the end of the tour, so no worries. But as we do go throughout our journey today here on the Africa Trail, we'll be talking about all the wildlife and looking at their awesome adaptations and seeing how these adaptations not only help them to best survive but thrive within their environment. Things like coloration, markings, or sometimes even behaviors. Now let's get it started off with the greater flamingo on the right-hand side. Now, greater flamingo, don't let that name fool you. It doesn't mean they're better than anyone else, but just a lesser flamingo. It just mostly has to do with size. They are a bit larger. Do take note though of the brighter coloration of their feathers, much lighter than most other flamingo species. Due to the environment where they originate from in Africa, living in the hot salt marshes and lakes. So this lighter color will do a couple of things for them, such as acting as camouflage to help blend them in, as well as reflecting sunlight to keep them cooler in the hot sun. Because lighter colors will always reflect heat, and that would be similar as if you wore a light colored shirt on a hot day to keep you cool as well. But by entering through one of the two front doors to San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance here at the Safari Park, you have joined us at the Safari Park, and of course the other front door is going to be at San Diego Zoo downtown at Balboa Park. The mission, though, of the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is to help create a world where all life can thrive, and they do this by focusing conservation efforts in on 8 different hubs around the world. And 2 of these hubs we will be in today. Which one? We're driving through it right now where we started in the savannas of East Africa. We call this the Savannah Hub, of course. But what is equally as important is what we refer to as our own backyard. And we see this on the hillsides around us here at the Safari Park and that coastal sagebrush. We'll talk a little bit more about that Southwest Hub in just a bit. But for now, let's start off with the Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center here on our right. One of the main conservation focuses and projects here at the Safari Park. To study the reproductive sciences of them, the southern white rhino, and that will not only, of course, help out them, their species, but as well as their close cousin, the northern white rhino. And for this reason being, because only 2 northern white rhinos remain in the entire world. That is right, a mere 2. And these 2 that are both left, they're female and too old to reproduce, so what that means now for their species of the northern white rhino is that they have become functionally extinct. But don't worry, there is still hope for them. Here they're working to create embryos of them one day from DNA that has been stored in the frozen zoo. I know it sounds a little bit like Jurassic Park, kinda is, but then the ultimate goal is by using in vitro fertilization or IVF, do that embryo transplant here into the southern white rhinos at the Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center to be surrogates for them to help bring them back as a species entirely. Now, some really amazing work going on here with all these rhinos, and I can talk about it all day as they are my favorite. But we've only got about 30 minutes together today and a lot more to see. Like some more feathered friends hanging out on the island. 2 different species of pelican, great white and Dalmatian. The great white are kind of the larger, brighter white ones. It looks like they're all laying down in the center there. Joined by the Dalmatian pelicans to the right. Their nests being a little smaller and grayer toned. But like the flamingos, the light color of them is of course going to reflect the sunlight and keep them cooler, as well as to keep them hidden from predators down below. So as hungry eyes look up towards the surface of the water against the sky, light color of the pelican is going to blend in really nicely keeping them a tad more hidden from perhaps seeing someone snack this little birdie snack. Because, well, if you aren't hiding from predators, you're not surviving, and you are definitely not thriving. And walking up right towards us here, and as we're about to enter into the South Africa habitat, these are the Gemsbok, a species of antelope coming from the Kalahari Desert, with these really striking black and white faces. It almost kind of looks like a mask on them, which is actually what we call it. Well, a threat mask, that is, to act as intimidation for predators. And what it's doing is, one, elongating their horns, and two, camouflaging their side-facing eyes. Because what you see in prey animals like antelope and gazelle are side-facing eyes, meaning on the side of their head. And predators like lions and cheetahs will have those forward-facing eyes. And now I know why they were running over here towards us. That little guy kind of joining into the mix there. That is the male springbok, who kind of likes to stir up stuff every once in a while and toss everyone around. So that is what is going on there. But predators like lions and cheetahs will have those forward-facing eyes on the fronts of their faces, and prey animals, antelope, gazelle will have those side-facing eyes go on the side of their head. But let's head on into the rest of the habitat up ahead here.
Yeah, I had to Cape Town water boat.
Well, before we get too much further, I want to point out one of my favorite bald dudes here on the right. That is a Rapal vulture, right in the center there. Now, vultures tend to get a bit of a bad rap. They're seen as being a little creepy or ghostly and all those dead things all the time. That's kind of a bit suspicious. But actually what they're doing is an extremely important job by acting as nature's cleanup crew, or the sanitation workers, clearing out all that dead and yucky stuff from bacteria or disease that's left over, so it does not harm other wildlife. So they play a really important role within their environment. And they have extremely acidic stomachs and can even digest things such as anthrax. And that's of course why they do have that balder head and neck, to keep all that yucky stuff off of them, so they can be nice and safe as they do their so important job. Oh, here we go. Here's the rest of these springboks. On the left here, that tan and white. Which, that dark stripe on them is not acting as any sort of intimidation. Perhaps that one guy, though, back there was hoping it does. It acts as a way to kind of give them a little bit bulkier of an appearance, try to deter. A little bit darker in coloration. So it's a bit more jagged and irregular in appearance than other giraffe species. Fully grown, though, they stand 16 to 18 feet tall. Tallest animals on Earth, of course, by quite a lot. And we like to say, though, for about every foot of height that they come about an inch of tongue. Meaning that tongue is 16 to 18 inches long, which is roughly the length if you looked at your arm from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger or so. And this tongue that they have is prehensile, literally meaning finger-like, wrapping around and grasping onto things a lot like our hands can. And if you have ever seen a giraffe tongue up close in person or even just in a photo, their tongues are very darkly pigmented, dark gray, almost black. And the dark color of their tongue is just thought to act as a sunscreen for them, because their tongues are exposed for so much of the day as they're eating all those yummy leaves.
Sometimes hard and crunchy.
Wouldn't it be too fun if you were just trying to have a tasty dinner and your tongue was all sunburned? And they, of course, are the ones that are responsible here in the habitat for all this fantastic tree trimming work. See how all the trees are kind of trimmed to be about the same height, some going straight across the bottom. Just these tree trimmers of the savanna, which we got a couple more of them walking up towards us. The one in the back there, the second one, he's much taller and darker in coloration. We say he is the tall, dark, and handsome one here. Let's go on, the male Maasai giraffe. He is the tallest one here at the safari park at a striking 18 feet.
Oh. He's a tall, dark, and handsome.
And while the dark color of that giraffe tongue is acting as that sunscreen for them, the dark coloration of the Cape Buffalo up ahead here is acting as a little bit different of a purpose. They're the large chocolatey brown cattle all laying down. You might see those short, upright, curved horns. Got the sable antelope closest to us, but the Cape Buffalo in this dark coloration is definitely very noticeable, so the opposite of camouflage. Camouflage, of course, meaning blending in. These guys are standing out. But they don't have to worry about camouflage so much because these guys have a ton of size on their side to throw around. So it's no worries, they've got it handled just fine. And they do a fantastic job at using their size to their advantage by doing a behavior called mobbing, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. They gather up all close together in one big large group. They put the small ones in the center. Sometimes predators might come after the little ones in the group, but they'll sort of charge as this one big unit at a predator or threat, whatever this may be. Basically, it's a way to say like, hey, watch out, we're a lot bigger than you and we'll probably win, so don't mess with us. Which is also too why they have the shape of horns that they do. They are short and curved upright, a characteristic or an adaptation that you'll see in a more highly migratory species like a Cape Buffalo or a wildebeest. Migrating, meaning traveling long distances all close together. And those horns curve and upright, that's just going to help prevent any sort of injuries from occurring while they're doing these behaviors such as migrating and, or in the Cape Buffalo's case, mobbing. However, though, for the time being, we will be heading on out of the savannas for just a little bit to a more forested area up ahead here, to what we call Central Africa. And I cannot stop as we boogie on up the hill, so just have your eyeballs peeled and cameras at the ready for anything you might see along the way. There she is, the eastern black rhino. That is Miss Aria just popping out of the boma there. Boma is just the Swahili word for shelter or enclosure. And Kendi's also in the other boma. He's laying down. It's a little harder to see, but there are two of them. Sometimes we'll have them in the bomas. They need to be separated from one another in the rest of the habitat. But typically, though, they are both out in the habitat up ahead here with everyone else. But I don't know about you, but the first thing I think about when I hear the word rhino is their horns. If you break the word rhinoceros down into the Greek origin, rhino meaning nose, ceros meaning horn, these guys are literally called nose horns. And these nose horns are made out of a protein called keratin, which keratin, that may sound familiar to you, and it's because that's the same protein that makes up our hair and our nails. And it is thought by some that these rhino horns that they was able to send an eastern black rhino that was born here to a protected reserve in Tanzania. His name was Eric. Yes, Eric the rhino. And Eric went on out to Tanzania to help with their population and numbers there, as well as the spreading genetic diversity. I'm sure as we've been getting to the top of the hill here towards the bridge, you have already spotted these Giraffe zebra boys. I don't know, does that work? Can you actually spot a zebra when they have only got stripes? I guess we can perhaps stripe them instead.
Aww.
Which these stripes are definitely not acting as any sort of camouflage for them. And they don't really have a lot of size on their side to throw around like the Cape Buffalo do. So what is the deal with these stripes and why do zebras have them? Well, they have stripes because they don't want to be spotted, of course. Well, okay, that's a bit more of a silly reason. I do have more of a serious reason, and that serious reason is, actually I don't have that great of a reason to tell you. Still a bit of a mystery working on that though. There are some theories as to why they may have them. One of the big theories is some say it's just to maybe act as confusion for predators. When they all stand together, it's hard to tell where one zebra starts and stops. They're all blending in with one another, as well as creating confusion when they all start running around as that predator does approach, making it hard to select a single one out. And maybe by the time you have, it's probably already too late and zebra snack has just gotten away and you have no more lunch. But do check out that amazing view off to the left that we've been driving through. Got the African forest on the right, bunch of roan antelope on our left and right. Also with that fantastic threat mask. You can see a couple of those great white pelican up close now. Joined by the smaller pink-backed pelicans in the water, the smaller grayer toned ones. And I'll stop talking here for a quick minute or so to let you all enjoy the view of the savannas around us.
I was recording. I like so cold.
Now, as we have been going throughout our journey here today on the Africa Tram, kind of focusing on a lot of this savanna hub that we have been driving through, very different from what we are used to. And all the wildlife that was there, like those Maasai giraffe or Cape buffalo that we can see down there still in the distance. Very different from what we are used to. However, what we are still used to is still incredibly important as well. That southwest coast, like I mentioned earlier, we can see this really nicely on the hillside surrounding us here at the safari park and a coastal sage scrub. I call it the kind of crispier stuff up on the hillside. However, that is coastal sage scrub that we do see. There is thought to be only about 15% of it remaining from what was originally here, and that remains undeveloped still, making it the second most endangered ecosystem in the United States, just behind Hawaiian rainforests, mostly due to habitat loss. And along with habitat loss comes loss of species as well. Ones, for example, that are going to help maintain balanced ecosystems for others, like those vultures talked about a little bit earlier, or the California condor, for example, here in the southwest south, but whose numbers had gone down to only 22 back in the 1980s because of so much habitat loss and some light poisoning as well. And with so few left, the park decided to do something about that, because if you were helping out vultures, you in turn help out everyone else as well. And the safari park did just that for the California condors by getting special government permission to bring in the remaining ones to a breeding program here at the park. And that is still going on to this day, and with a lot of success, I might add. And they've been able to raise their numbers to over 500 in the last 30-some years. And many of those that have been able to be released back into the wild. And you can see them here at the safari park at Condor Ridge. They are massive birds with a striking 9-foot wingspan, which is going to span roughly wider than the width of our tram. Now, arriving back into the savannas of South Africa, on our left here, we've got a species of antelope. These shaggy brown ones, you may notice how none of them have horns, which is maybe a little bit different than a lot of other antelope species. Typically, you see horns on both females and males.
Right here.
Well, these are all the females, and the one male, he's laying down kind of on the far left of the group. And this is because where they are coming from, they have more resources available to them, so there is less competing. Species that have horns on both females and males, that means less resources, therefore more competing, horns out with competition. Males will always have horns though in a given species because they still need to compete for all the ladies. Well, except this guy, he is the only male ellipse in water about 2.5 miles. That encompasses roughly 250 acres or so of open African savanna habitat. A really awesome and unique setup compared to a lot of other zoos. And the safari park was actually the vision of Dr. Charles Schroeder, who was the San Diego Zoo's president at the time, back in the late 1960s, who had this idea to create a place a little bit different, a very natural environment, lots of open land for animals to roam freely on, as well as coexisting with other species like they would out in the wild.
You are sitting down.
And he thought by doing this that perhaps there would be a lot of success with breeding. As I mentioned earlier, the safari park did start as that breeding facility for the San Diego Zoo, which it is still to this day a breeding facility, but the focus has shifted a little bit more towards conservation and maintaining genetic diversity within species populations as part of the Species Survival Plan, or SSP as it is oftentimes abbreviated as, which is SSP. We just make sure we are maintaining ample genetic diversity within these populations, especially those that are considered endangered and critically endangered in the wild. Years to come. However, though, Dr. Schroeder was right on this idea that he had in a lot of respects.
Oh, yeah.
As for example, the safari park has been the most successful in southern white rhino births out of anywhere in the world, with over 100 born here in these last 50 years, 104 to be exact. And the reason for all that success is indeed attributed to these large savanna habitats, because it allows for the southern white rhinos to live and remain in large social groups like they would out in the wild, which is precisely what they need. They are a very social species of rhino. In these large groups, females feel very safe and comfortable. That allows their bodies to go into estrus, thus being able to get pregnant and have babies, which has been seen success that has been had here with these southern white rhinos that we see grazing on the hillside of the hub. Looks like the whole trash is on the hillside, with a few of them kind of on the far right as well.
Wow.
Of those 104 born here, though, 2 of them were actually from artificial insemination, or AI. Maybe you've heard of them before. Their names are Edward and Future. They live over back at the Rhino Rescue Center that we saw earlier, so not in this habitat, but they are still here at the park. And they're actually, they are the only 2 in North America to be born this way for rhinos. Kind of a reason for that. It's because AI is a little bit more of a complicated process to do with rhinos. It's not as straightforward, but they are getting better at it. And also, to having success with it just means that is just like one more step in the process to one day using in vitro fertilization, or IVF, like I mentioned earlier. Having these southern white here act as that surrogate for the northern white to help bring that species back. So still a little bit of a ways off from that, but getting closer each and every day.
I see an animal.
Right here. Look.
So as the Ascatran Safari here
No more.
is coming to a close, and we're heading.
Look at that! Look at that too! Look at mom too! Look at that too!
Yeah.
That's me!
That's you?
I am Rabbit. I'm Bunny. I am Bunny.
What's that little hole?
Boing, boing, boing.
I don't know.
Mom, what's that little ball?
Aww.
Come on, Harley girl. Oh, I see one. Come on, Harley.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize the babies had...
Oh, the baby. Counting them. Careful.
There's a baby over there. There's like a tiny baby.
So that's a rabbit.
No, that's a rabbit.
No, it's so, I didn't know it's not that.
On the other side of
There's a teensy baby.
Oh, yeah, that's little, huh?
He's the rabbit.
Oh, this one's chasing the rabbit. I think this one right here is a child.
Not you. I'm talking about the baby back there.
Oh my god, it's totally chasing the rabbit.
Jonathan, I'm looking at no player. Okay, Grandma, look it. Mommy. Listen down. Mommy.
God, there's a baby elephant playing.
Why is that one big? Why is that one with mad? Looks like me.
monkey showing your butt to the world. You know, play daddy.
Two more.
Did I make a pun? We're admiring your mermaid hair.
Thank you.
Over this way.
I'll put your mermaid here.
Thank you.
Let's go look at the
Tara, he's saying hello.
I did see her.
I know, but he was saying hello back.
Oh my god. So, I hope you liked this video. Please comment down below. My niece, my sisters in the bachelor round, you know. And I hope you like this video. And I will see you soon.